asked to go someplace, it was, unfortunately, to go back to Indianapolis, which is where I lived for 11 years. And it's only been the last year that I could hit 465 and not have a panic attack. So my very first time I ever spoke and sang someplace was back in Indy. And he's now my husband, but I was with my boyfriend, and we're driving up there, and my heart just starts racing, and I'm fumbling in my Bible, just reaching for something to grab onto. And this is what I found, so this is what I start every time I speak with. It's Isaiah 43, and it says, "Fear not, for I have redeemed you. I have summoned you by name, and you are mine. When you pass through the waters, I will be with you. And when you pass through the rivers, they will not sweep over you. When you walk through the fire, you will not be burned. The flames will not set you ablaze. For I am the Lord your God, the Holy One of Israel, your Savior."
Yes. Yes. Yes.
I was a drug addict for 16 years. I started using crystal meth when I was 16 years old. I battled my whole life prior, though. You know, some people just get hooked on drugs because they were trying to fit in, or some people just, party too much and they flip that switch. And then there's those of us who come from a lot of trauma in their background, and that's me. And it wasn't until I got clean and sober that I really remembered a lot of it. And still, at almost 4 years clean, I'm just now baby stepping into that process of dealing with all of that. By the grace of God, it has been 3 years, 9 months, and 17 days since I put a needle in my arm. I was born and raised in Los Angeles, California, and when I first used crystal meth for the first time, that's all it took. And it only took that one time, and it just took over my life. I went from being a really good kid to being a homeless drug addict, living in my car in a matter of a year. Back then they didn't have recovery, I don't know if they had recovery meetings, but nobody steered me in that direction. I got out of juvenile hall and it was just like, okay, there you go. Well, usually I was high before the night was over because that's what drug addicts do, we get high. And my family, I came from, I guess you would say, on the outside, a really good-looking family. Everything was always picture perfect. And so when they found out that I was really had a problem, I think it was too late. But I also think that they weren't willing to accept it. And so that family just kind of, it was almost like I didn't exist anymore at 16, 17 years old. So I turned 17 in juvenile hall, I turned 19 in county jail, and I turned 21 in state prison. The love of my life was supposed to pick me up when I got out of prison, and of course he didn't. And so this is in California, so I hopped on the bus, I got my gate money, and I got on the bus, and from Chowchilla, California, Northern California, down to Southern, I had to do 3 bus changes. By the time I hit my last bus stop, I had already done a line, and that entire time was wasted. So I moved to Indiana on 3 days' notice. My ex, that love of my life, I thought, beat me up for the last time, and I called my mom's boyfriend, and 3 days later I was on a plane. I brought drugs with me here, and because I was so afraid that people were going to know I was a drug addict. I was so afraid my mom was going to send me back to the life I was living. When you're raised in Los Angeles, it's a lot different than being raised in smaller communities. It's a lot scarier. It's a lot scarier. And when you're tough as nails and have no one there to tell you, whoa, settle down, you get yourself into a lot of trouble and get yourself into people that you have no rights being involved with. So I left California, and I left California to save my life. Unfortunately, I just didn't leave the drugs behind. I kept using, and I ended up getting married. I met a man who met me and married me and never knew that I had a drug problem, because that meth addiction that I hid from everyone when I first moved here, I just continued to hide it. I've been using for so long, and I know there are so many of you who understand this. It wasn't a matter of getting high anymore. It was a matter of waking up and going to work. It was a matter of waking up and being able to put on my makeup and actually get out of bed. So when my ex-husband caught me getting high, he left. He packed what he could and he left. And he left me, hang on, I gotta pick this dime up. Thank you, Dad. I need something to fidget with. Thank you, Dad. So he just left, and he left me in our home with our wedding pictures on the wall. And what happened then was I lost my mind, then I lost my job, and then I lost our house. And I just kept circling the drain, and I just kept being dug deeper and deeper, again, into people and places that I had no business being around. Or maybe I did have business being around, but that's the sad part. So, sorry, I lost my thought. Here we are. I'm in a room full of drug addicts and recovery. You guys completely know what I'm talking about. Woo, all right, back to the meeting. So, yeah, exactly. So I just kept digging myself deeper and deeper and deeper. And I was in Indianapolis, and there were just circles amongst circles amongst circles amongst circles that I was known and respected in, and that made it harder. I can't tell you how many times I shot up just to go to a meeting. I hated being a junkie. I hated everything about me. And I tried everything. I went to meetings, I did inpatient, I did outpatient. I ordered this stupid medicine from like India or something that was supposed to help me. I convinced doctors to give me Adderall. I tried everything to get off the dope. And, I'd already been to prison, I'd already been to jail, I'd already been to juvenile hall, but I hadn't gotten in trouble in Indiana. And so I was out of trouble for 10 years. And after my husband left me, and I just kind of lost it all, I ended up getting arrested. I got arrested for stealing a trash can full of canned food and a nebulizer machine out of an abandoned house in Indianapolis. My addiction made me so many things that I wasn't. My addiction made me a thief. My addiction made me completely immoral. So when I got arrested for that, thank God that I wasn't arrested and spending the rest of my life in a federal pen where I completely belong. But so I'm in Marion County Jail, and again, so circles amongst circles that I belong to. So I know everyone in this stupid jail, and it's heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking. And about 7 days in, I have a crazy best, how many of you have a crazy best friend? Right? God love those crazy best friends. I called my best friend who didn't have a drug problem, who because of me kind of got wrapped up into a lifestyle that she had no business, did not belong in. So I called her, and at 7 days, I was like, I can't do this anymore. I want out of Indianapolis, I want out of this life, and I don't want to be a junkie. So I went to court. The night before I went to court, I found out, there's like nothing and no one that I'm afraid of, except for my God, now. But back then it was absolutely nothing, except for there was this one woman. And I came to find out that had I been arrested like a week earlier, she would have been like my bunkie. And this woman is pure evil, And so out of fear, it all of a sudden hit me. And I hit my knees. I'd never done that in my life. I don't think I've ever admitted that it was fear that brought me to my knees that night, but it was pure fear. So however you gotta get to God, get to God. And I, bawling my eyes out on a concrete floor in a jail cell, begging God to take this, begging God, and promising God that if He helped me out of this, I would do whatever it took. So I go to court, they drop my bond, they lowered my bond, I get bailed out, and at 3:30 in the morning, my crazy best friend picked me up with a bag of dirty clothes, and we left. I walked away from everything and everybody, and I walked away from my life. And the hotel's in Seymour, up by the interstate. I lived there for a month and a half with the rest of the drug addicts while I was fighting for my life. And it was a really struggle because when I was genuinely trying to get clean, and it was everywhere. It was everywhere. On a side note, I'm now involved in a ministry where we set up once a week in that empty parking lot. And I do that because I'm praying for me to walk out. I'm praying for that one person who's not using, who's genuinely struggling and reaching for God. And I know I'm going to find her or him. I know it's going to happen. It's going to happen. And until then, we're going to go. So here I am. Oh, I'm almost going behind my boundaries. Oh, got it. So here I am. I'm in this tiny town. Like, if anyone, everybody knows everybody in Seymour. And I knew nobody. I was trying to hang on to my old life. Jesus says that we can't just, keep one foot in and one foot out of the old life. He says, pick up your cross and follow me. That means turn away from everything and everybody and everything of your past. For me, I was trying to hang out in the bars. I'm a singer, and I used to sing 5 nights a week in Indy with bands. And so I was still hanging out in the bars, getting drunk, getting stoned. But every person I met, I promise you, every person I met knew that I was in recovery, knew that I was meth-free. I mean, I'm telling you, the gas station attendant, the lady at the dollar store, they all knew. Everybody knew. And so there were a couple the owners of both the bars that I worked at told me about the alley. And I was like, okay. So I walked into that church, which is just a room full of people just like this. They're just fighting for their lives. I walked in there at 61 days clean and changed my life. It changed my life. When I was still living in the hotel room, I was reaching for God. And thankfully, thank you, Gideons, because I didn't have to reach very far. Because in that nightstand drawer was a Bible. I had no idea what I was doing, what I was reading, but I picked it up. And every day, I had no idea what I read, but I read. So I really was reaching for God. So when I started going to the alley, and I realized that, okay, there are a few people who are trying to do this. At that point, there wasn't many. At that point, there wasn't a room full of people like this. There was a handful of us, 7, 8, 9 of us. And there was a few who had some old timers. And I say this, people like us, when you're trying to put down a needle, is a lot different. I know an addiction is an addiction and a habit hang up, and God can take them all. But when you're trying to put down a needle versus dealing with like some codependency, it's a little different. And so having people who really understood what I was going through was few and far between. So the rally I actually had talked about, like, we're so lucky that we are on the front lines of what recovery is going to do and what is going to be shown that God's going to do. So my first 2 years of recovery, man, were a lot of lonely nights. I did 2 Bible studies a week. I did my Sunday church and I did my Friday night church. I did a Celebrate Recovery meeting, and I worked 2 jobs, and that's all I did. And I will never, I'm so grateful that I did. I'm so grateful that I stayed true to myself and that I stayed true to God. Man, there were so many trials because, like I said, I got clean, but I wasn't sober. I was still going and drinking. I was still using pot just to sleep at night. It's an amazing feeling that at 36 years old, I can go to sleep without any medication, without anything. It doesn't happen right away. So there's this old timer named Mikey Pike. I'm sure a lot of you know him. And I gotta tell you the story of one time that old man, God love him, told me that my recovery wasn't real. Because I was still drinking. He said I wasn't clean, I wasn't sober. And I showed him, and I left my recovery meeting, and I went home, and I got stoned. And then I came back to my recovery meeting. Because I wasn't going to let anyone tell me, and please don't let anyone, except for Jan, tell you that you're doing your recovery wrong. Because it is a process. I am clean and sober today, but it took a lot. It took a lot. So I stayed single for the first 2 years of my recovery, and I put everything I had into me. Everything I had into me. Because I was worth it.
Yes.
Because I was worth it. And so people would always be like, hey, have you met so-and-so? He's really come a long way. He's kind of got a story like you. And I would just jokingly laugh at them and say that I really prefer to be the only one with a criminal history in my relationships. It's true. So 2 years into my recovery, God sent me somebody. I used to have a talk with my old boss, Dwight, and I would tell him that I wasn't, really it's lonely. God never intended us to be alone. He intended us to have a partner and to be a helpmate. And so, it got really lonely sometimes, but Dwight told me to expect it. Don't wait for it. Don't work for it. Don't look for it. But expect that one day God was going to send someone and they were going to walk through your church doors. Amen. And he did, and I married him in January. Yes. So one of the things that my addiction taught me, it taught me how to be tough. And it taught me how to fight. And it taught me how to be really strong and overcome anything. My recovery taught me how to be joyful and how to have courage. And my marriage is teaching me how to be a helpmate and how to run a house and how to raise children. Things that I never in a million years thought that was going to happen. And I'm so blessed. I'm so blessed. Okay.
We're going to backtrack.
We're going to backtrack. Okay. Part of recovery is a big part of recovery. Is facing all of those things that have broken you. And facing all of those demons that tell you that you are not enough. California is where I first got broken. California is where the first time I put a needle in my arm. It is the first time that the devil told me that I wasn't good enough. So at 33 years old, I found out I had a sister. That's like a whole other talk show. Whole other talk show. But my mom, thank you. When I found out I had her, funny thing is she had reached out to me while I was still using. And for some reason, I never saw her message. And I was 5 months clean one night, one of those sleepless nights, because, for early recovery, there are many sleepless nights. No matter how much you just want to sleep those demons away, they don't always let you. And so, come to find out, she's been following me for the year prior, and she's been praying for me. And so I went to California, went back home, and I passed that test. I passed the test of going through my old neighborhoods, seeing my old friends. It was my ex-boyfriend that beat me up. How I ended up in Indiana, he's the one who picked me up from the airplane. Because he got clean, got God, got married, got a bunch of babies, and doing great. But so, I woke up every morning, and I drank my coffee sitting on the beach. I think somewhere deep down inside I'm supposed to be a mermaid, because I love it. And my sister and I, after meeting her, there was really something to be said when you hug somebody that has the same blood flowing through their body as you. Because I swear it was our bodies knew. My blood knew that was my blood. So we would walk and pick up shells, and she would have said that it was a bad shell season. Because they were all broken. And so there were some mornings it was just me, and I'd be walking out there. I couldn't help but pick up these shells and like really think about like what they had been through. Because not everyone is lucky enough to make it to the shore, like intact and whole. Some of us, me included, have been beaten and thrown against rocks to where we are almost unrecognizable. But this shell, it's still a shell. It doesn't change its beauty, and it doesn't change its strength. In fact, it makes it stronger than ever. So these are for you guys, actually. I've prayed over these. This batch is actually, I've already given all the ones I picked up out. But my sister, whenever I tell her, hey, I need more shells, she goes out to the beach, she prays it, she picks them up, she sends them to me, and then I pray over them before you guys go. So,
Cool.
Recovery saved my life. It is the greatest thing that I ever chose to do. It's the greatest thing that God ever helped me to do. When I got to Seymour, and I was just surrounded by people who loved God, and I really feel that the more honest you are with people, the more they're going to be willing to help you. Especially now that, I mean, it is just blown up in the media. If you're just honest, they'll help you. Now, things are not sunshine and rainbows, and that is for sure. Life is hard. To this day, like, life is really hard. I struggle every day. I struggle with my own thoughts. I struggle with, man, I really want a glass of wine. I struggle. God doesn't say that, you know, our recovery is going to be without struggles. He says he's going to be there through it. So, like Romans, the famous one, of course, I can't think of it right now. It doesn't say that everything's going to be good. It says he's going to use it for good. So, I really think that's all I have to say. I'm 50 miles from perfect. My goodness, am I 50 miles from perfect. But my God thinks I am absolutely flawless. Absolutely flawless. And I'm going to leave you all with one thing. When I first got clean, I don't know how to play guitar, and I would sit in my room, in a hotel room, the living room, wherever I was, with an out-of-tune, broken old Fender that someone had given me on my travels, and I would strum, and I would write music, write songs. So I'm going to leave you guys with this. On my worst day, it's better, 1,000 times better. My worst day